I would get much more engaged in the world. We can't step back. If, in fact, for example, we solve the problem in the United States of America and you don't solve it in other parts of the world, you know what's going to happen. You're going to have travel bans. You're going to not be able to have economic intercourse around the world. There's a lot. Look.
And maybe you have to swallow a little bit.
These people are sick.
Tara Reade's accusations against former Vice President Joe Biden got an unexpected boost last week. Footage from Larry King Live more than 25 years ago resurfaced thanks to the effort of a Twitter reader. Now another piece of corroborating evidence. One of Reade's former neighbors in California has come forward to say Reade told her about it at the time. Rich McHugh has been at the center of this story, one of the reporters covering it the most closely with the best sources. He's an investigative journalist and film producer. He joins us tonight. Rich, thanks so much for coming on. So,
thanks for having me.
Outline for us, if you would, the apparently corroborating evidence we just received from this former neighbor.
Sure. So Linda Lacasse was a neighbor of Tara Reade back in 1995 and 1996 in Moralbag, I think it's Moralbag, California. They were raising young kids. They lived catty corner from across each other, and Tara told her this. She says Tara told her this story pretty much verbatim of what we'd heard before back then. And I said, I asked her this. I did a series of interviews with her, and I said, tell me a story. And she told me, that she recalls Tara telling her about the assault, that she had worked for Senator Biden, and that, all the details of the story matched up with what I had heard from others who were corroborating. But noted, this is the first woman who's putting her name, she's going on the record and saying, I have no problem going forward with this. In fact, what's even more interesting to me, when I was in the process of asking her a series of questions, I said, do you have an axe to grind? Is there something about the timing of this? Trying to drill down. And she said, no, actually, I'm an ardent Democrat, lifelong Democrat, and I still plan to vote for Joe Biden. But this needs to be heard because this happened.
She said, I still plan to vote for Joe Biden. But she put her name on this. That's amazing.
She did. She's very vocal about not wanting to vote for Donald Trump, but said, I'm still voting Democrat regardless.
Did she? So she told you that Tara Reade had passed this on to her at the time. For whatever it's worth, did she say she believed the allegation?
I asked her if she has any reason to doubt the veracity of the claims. She said nothing. I've never known Tara to be a liar in any part of her life. She's a good, honest person. She believed her at the time. She believes her now. She believed her when she came out. She posted on Facebook, I think in March, she's like, this is my friend Tara Reade, and with her allegations against Joe Biden back in 1993. Like, this is a woman who is a very credible, in my opinion, who lives a quiet, drama-free life and doesn't need this, but is doing it out of the goodness of her heart.
Well, they're not going to dismiss her as a Trump supporter, apparently, voting for Biden. Rich McHugh, amazing story. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
So we've made this comparison before, but you really can't make it enough because it's just such a striking contrast. It was just a year and a half ago that Washington was completely convulsed, overturned by the Brett Kavanaugh confirmation battle. For more than a month, everything in Washington revolved around the spectacular allegations against Kavanaugh from a woman called Christine Blasey Ford. Those allegations had very few details accompanying. There was no proof they were true. In fact, there was ample evidence that they weren't, but it didn't matter. Democrats set a very clear standard at the time. They believe women and the allegations they make always.
Not only do women like Dr. Ford, who bravely comes forward, need to be heard, but they need to be believed. Guess who's perpetuating all of these kinds of actions? It's the men in this country. And I just want to say to the men in this country, just shut up and step up. Do the right thing, and then for a change.
Let me just say right at the outset, I believe Dr. Ford, I believe the survivor here.
Do you believe her story?
Well, I can tell you that it really does have a ring of truth to it.
I believe her. Many, many, many Americans believe her. Many, many women in America who have been taken advantage of certainly believe her.
I believe her because she's telling the truth. Judge Kavanaugh has not asked to have the FBI review these claims. Is that the reaction of an innocent person? It is not.
And the only cure for that Trump derangement syndrome is 4 more years.
Well, it was unanimous in the Democratic Party. They believe all women, and they believe Christine Blasey Ford because she is a woman. And of course, if the Democratic Party takes a view, if the word goes down, all the troops have to mouth the party line, you can be certain the media are repeating the same words. And in fact, they did. Kavanaugh, they said, was likely a serial rapist, and anyone who defended him was an enabler of a rapist.
I've never heard of a guy who's a one-time rapist. I've never heard of a guy who's a one-time sexual assaulter. I grew up with guys like this. He's from around this area, right? He's the 5th guy in a gang rape.
Maybe this country is a lot more racist and sexist than we thought.
I'm glad we have mostly women on tonight. I think young women have experienced this kind of thing with guys who have been drinking. I think they know this guy got, to say out of hand is ridiculous, worse than out of hand.
3 women came forward and said under oath in various ways that Brett Kavanaugh sexually assaulted them. And they were told, we don't believe you. That's the legacy of this hearing.
These white men, old, by the way, are not protecting women. They're protecting a man who is probably guilty.
These people are sick.
It's those old white men. They're the worst. And by the way, there was Chris Matthews very upset about sexual harassment. He won't put up with that, won't tolerate it, ever. Well, now suddenly a very similar case has emerged. Tara Reid says Joe Biden sexually assaulted her in the early 1990s. The specifics are pretty overwhelming. We don't know if they're true. They're unproven. But so far, they seem to have a lot more supporting evidence than the charges against Brett Kavanaugh did. But the case is being handled very differently. The media are, for the most part, ignoring the story. Tara Reid doesn't have 2 front doors, so she can't be credible, apparently. Democrats aren't simply ignoring the story. They're proudly endorsing Joe Biden anyway. They don't care what women say. This was Nancy Pelosi earlier today.
I'm proud to endorse Joe Biden for president, a leader who is the personification of hope and courage, values, authenticity, and integrity.
We choose truth over facts.
Nancy Pelosi endorsing authenticity. Now, just to be clear, we're not demanding that Democrats assume Joe Biden is guilty. They shouldn't. No one should be assumed guilty. We certainly don't assume he's guilty. But it's a little weird that they don't take this seriously. That would mean, in fact, we're starting to conclude that their attempt to destroy Brett Kavanaugh wasn't based on any genuine belief that he committed those crimes. Instead, it's looking increasingly like a cynical political ploy. Destroy a man and his family, his children, his 2 little girls, in order to get power. Looks like that's what they did. You should keep that in mind going forward. And since the media mob refuses to ask top Democrats about Reid's allegations, well, we will. Earlier today, we in fact reached out for comment from nearly a dozen potential Biden VP picks, including Stacey Abrams, Kamala Harris, Elizabeth Warren. So far, predictably, critics. The silence deafening. Hypocrisy breathtaking. Even Biden himself has remained in hiding. But remember, it was only a few months ago when the former VP told PBS, women should be believed. Take a look.
Do you think this time it's different, that we are seeing with the Me Too movement something that is truly going to lead for change, to change for women?
Look, at its root, this is all about the abuse of power. It's all about the abuse of power. Whether it's Harvey Weinstein or the guy who, the plumber who has a secretary he harasses, it's all about the abuse of power, number 1. Number 2, women should be believed.
All right, the abuse of power. Democrats, the media mob, they have been using the Me Too movement only when it's convenient, as a political weapon for years. Selective, feigned, phony, moral outrage. There is nothing, sadly, they won't do to win power back. This election is in your hands in 190 days. The same group of people that used Hillary Clinton's dirty Russian dossier filled with Russian disinformation to bolster their chances in 2016. Same group of people that spread the Russia hoax for 2+ years. They ignored quid pro quo Joe, you're not getting the billion, fire the prosecutor who's investigating my zero experience on Hunter being paid millions. The same people now accusing the president, even yours truly, pretty much of murder, killing people who passed away from the coronavirus when nothing could be further from the truth.
These people are sick.
Let's be clear. There is no lie the mob and the media won't tell, no slander they won't spread, no hoax too insane to pass off as actual news. When I said journalism is dead and buried in 2007, I thought I was right. I had no idea how right I was. And tonight the media is nothing more than an extension of the Democratic Party and radical extreme socialism. The DNC, the media mob, they are one people tied at the hip with one goal. Their goal is to beat Donald Trump any way possible in 190 days at all costs. Mark my words, the lying, the smears, the slander, the besmirchment, the politicization of everything will only get worse.
And the only cure for that Trump derangement syndrome is 4 more years.